If you think about how people sort of respond to status, societal norms, expectations from family and friends, and like that's how we sort of make our life, right? Like what's going to
Hmm.
sound good, what's going to be the most impressive, what's going to make the most money, what's going to make me look the best. And it's such an externally driven way to build a life.
Yeah.
Whereas the scarier, but also like the realer way to build a life is like from inside out, and I do a lot of talking about that. Like, what does it look like to build a career from the inside out kind of thing? But you hit the nail on the head in terms of like being who you are and like having to know who you are. And I've started to have the belief like, what, or maybe this question, like, what could it look like if my whole life was just this really cool expression of who I am in
Hmm.
every way, whatever that looks like, my relationships, my career, my like what I do for fun. What if it was just like all self-expression? And I think it's important to like do the work to even figure out who you are. Like, so, therapy, journaling,
Yeah.
faith, nature, something. Like we gotta find that. Yeah.
What's up, you beautiful beasts? I'm Katie. I'm on a mission to help humans become their favorite versions of themselves and to strive for overall health by healing their relationship to food and exercise, healing their relationship to their body, and most importantly, healing their relationship to themselves, all without ever having to step on a scale. I have had the privilege to talk to all kinds of different humans who have been through a plethora of experiences just being a human and existing. I believe that every single time someone shares their story, at least one person listening will learn from it, be inspired by it, and maybe, just maybe, even change the entire direction of their life. These are the stories of humans unveiling their beautiful beast. Keep listening. This is the Unveiling the Beast podcast.
Yeah. So it's nice to meet you. Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. Nice to meet you too.
You're welcome. Can you tell the listeners a little bit about who you are, who is Shaté, and why you think you are who you are?
Ooh, why I think I am who I am. Okay, so I am Shaté. About me as a person, I'm originally from Houston, Texas, a Southern girl at heart, even though I've lived a number of different places. I now reside in the Atlanta area. Who am I? I am an introvert who loves people. I love talking to people, but then I also like to like not be talking to them. I love stories and books and music and like stories in any type of form. So I love movies, TV shows, music, conversations. I love to like sort of know the why behind people, like what makes someone them, what makes a
Mhm.
situation that, I'm just kind of like really curious in that way. And I would say what makes me me. Ooh, that is a really profound, deep question. I think it's like a collection of my relationships with my family and friends. It's a little bit of my like spiritual practice, like my faith. It's sort of like how I see the world as like this creative who loves to like make things and
Mhm.
solve problems. And yeah, I'm just kind of like this really curious, laid back, kind of want to be one with the earth spirit person who can be a little bit of a diva too. So I'm kind of, I'm all of it,
I
all of
love
the
that.
above. Yeah. Yeah.
I love that. It's
Yeah.
interesting. I was having this conversation with my mom yesterday. She's like, "You think you're an introvert?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm an extroverted introvert." And she's
Yeah.
like, "Well, what test do I take to find out what I am? Why why do you need the label? Like you just know who you are." And I was like, one of the ways that I see it is like I can go out and, do the party thing. Like I don't like
hmm
going to parties, but every once in a while I'll go and I'll socialize, but then when I get home, I need to recover.
Yes, that's exactly it. It's
So,
it's where you get your energy. And I used to
mhm,
think I was an extrovert because I love talking to people. I like to be in conversations like this, small one-on-one
mhm,
settings. And it wasn't until I learned, like, no, actually, I have to recover. When I'm in like situations where I'm talking all day, I have to get my
mhm.
energy from like not being with people. So, yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, even sometimes with these interviews that I do, because we,
yeah,
we go deep sometimes, and I
yep,
just need to go sit and do nothing for a minute.
Yeah,
Which
yeah,
is hard to do because my brain is always going, but I got to make it
yeah.
happen.
But when I was in my first career as a professional dancer and I would like teach classes all day, I actually was okay doing that. There was something about being like one to many of, like a group of people where I could just like move and dance and I wasn't necessarily giving all of me to one person. And then
Mm,
I fast forward, I transitioned to a situation where I was like career coaching all day. And just to have like five of those back to back, I was drained in such a way that like I could easily do five or six classes, but to do like one-on-one to like really be giving yourself to one person that like it's a different kind of energy that really takes
yeah.
from you.
Oh, yeah. So tell me a little bit about like what you do. I mean, just like a brief explanation. This is a podcast for health, but not in the eat less, move more. It's
Yeah.
all pieces of health. How much sleep do you get? What do your spaces look like around you? Are you taking care of your mental health? All of the things. And
Mhm.
so how would you say you fit into that like
Yeah.
wide range of of topics?
Yeah, that's a good question. So like just to give a brief background, like I just mentioned, my first career was a professional dancer, choreographer, and then I moved into sort of career and workforce development for a number of years. Now I work on my own, sort of like just running content and programs to help people um, have a career or business that they love. So like help people live their purpose and love their work. The thing that is what I really love about what you're doing in your work is like your approach to total health. And there's this piece of like our professional lives that like our relationship with ourselves shows up in our careers too. And so there are so many of us who might have like these callings or these like really interesting dreams that we wish we could have, this sort of professional life we wish we can have. And for whatever reason, self-doubt, you don't think you can have it, not enoughness, fear, like all of these things sort of keep us from having, that sort of lived experience. And so I kind of make it my mission to like just go around telling people like you can have whatever career you want. Like it just takes some strategy, probably some storytelling, but probably a little bit of support too, because the fear is real, but it's not. I think the fear should not be enough to kind of keep you stuck living a life that you don't want to live. So I feel
Yeah.
like it's just all related. It's like loving yourself enough to have the career that you want, kind of.
Yeah. I love that you say that your relationship with yourself shows up in your work. That's
Hmm.
beautiful. And for a long time, I've been pro like the best way for you to shine in anything that you do is to be yourself.
Hmm.
And recently, I had a client that was like, "What if I don't know who that is?"
Ooh.
And I was like, "Girl."
Yeah.
So, like as a coach, that's where I would want to do some exploring. Like,
Yeah.
let's find out who you are so that you can be you and show up everywhere.
That's deep.
Yeah.
And yeah, my heart goes out to that person, but I think it's also really real if you think about how people sort of respond to status, societal norms, expectations from family and friends. And like that's how we sort of make our life, right? Like what's going to
Hmm.
sound good, what's going to be the most impressive, what's going to make the most money, what's going to make me look the best. And it's such an externally driven way to build a life.
Yeah.
Whereas the scarier, but also like the realer way to build a life is like from inside out, and I do a lot of talking about that. Like, what does it look like to build a career from the inside out kind of thing? But you hit the nail on the head in terms of like being who you are and like having to know who you are. And I've started to have the belief like, what, or maybe this question, like, what could it look like if my whole life was just this really cool expression of who I am in
Mm.
every way, whatever that looks like, my relationships, my career, my like what I do for fun. What if it was just like all self-expression? And I think it's important to like do the work to even figure out who you are. Like, so, therapy, journaling,
Yeah.
faith, nature, something. Like we gotta find that. Yeah.
Yeah. I also recently discovered that a lot of the things that I about me that I tried to like tame or you know, people would say things like, "You're so sensitive," or "You're so weird," and I'm like, those are my superpowers, you
Yes.
know. So
Good
before,
for
like,
you.
yeah, I'm super sensitive. I'll cry on a sunset, right? But
Same.
like, that's my superpower, you know?
Yeah.
I feel
Oof.
other people's pain and I don't make it my own, but like I feel your pain, you
Yeah.
know? It's a superpower. That's rad.
It's a heavy one. I'm an empath too. And
Hmm.
it's speaking of like owning who you are, I think I just came to the realization maybe last year, I feel fine feeling positive emotions, right? So like I can feel
Hmm.
joy, I can feel, excitement. I don't even have a problem with anger or fear. It's when I have to feel the sadness, especially when I feel other people's sadness, that it just like that's harder to recover for me. And so I found that like it turned into me almost even avoiding my own sadness. And that is not healthy. Like
Yeah.
it's like it becomes like a toxic positivity. But I feel you on just like feeling everything around me. I can like see a commercial and be like in tears, I'm boohooing.
Yeah.
The leaf has fallen from the tree, and I'm like, oh, that's so meaningful. Like I'm just brought to tears at everything. And,
Yeah.
sometimes that's annoying because like who wants to just be feeling all the things?
Oh, my favorite I was talking with another guest. I was on my favorite thing to do is go on roller coasters.
Mm.
And I went on one of my favorite roller coasters. It's got one of the biggest loops in the world, and I'm upside down and it's sunset and I start crying. My tears are like going upside down. And I'm like, yeah,
This is life.
that's me.
Yeah. That's
Yeah.
beautiful though. And I'm glad you got to a place where it is, it's your superpower. Like how did you get there? What was the catalyst for that?
I'm so, I don't want to say different. I'm different. But it's like what makes me me is what makes me stand out from everybody else.
Yeah.
And I'm tired of trying to fit myself into a box, you know? And also, I'm recovering from people pleasing,
Ooh,
and which
me
is
too.
that's part of that, like shutting down who
Yeah.
you are in order to make other people happy. And then
Yeah.
at this point, it's not like if you don't like me, you can get out of here. It's more like if you don't like me, go find who you like.
Yeah. I'm just not for you.
Exactly. And like go
Yes.
there's somebody out there for you. It's just not me.
Yeah.
And
I
I'm okay
deeply
with that
resonate. Yes. I just got to that place recently too, sort of this like self-acceptance. So stop avoiding what I'm feeling, stop running from who I am. I like what I like. I don't like what I don't like. People pleasing and perfectionism were my two sort of like I don't know, trauma responses, defense mechanisms, whatever the thing is, and
now.
like learning how to get out of that. And for me, it was like those are my responses because I was afraid to be abandoned. Like,
Hmm.
let me people please, let me do whatever to keep the peace so that I can keep people around me. But it's so superficial and then it's codependent and it causes burnout. It's all these like really harmful things. And then I just had to learn, like you just said, like, okay, whoever is for me will be here. Setting a boundary shouldn't cause someone to go away. If it does, they're not my people. And like I
Hmm.
have to just be comfortable with what whoever Shaté is, I have to be okay with that. And
Yeah.
whoever's supposed to be here will be here.
Yeah. I was just thinking I think another thing is like I'm turning 40 in April, and well, by the time this airs, I'll be 40. And I
Happy
think
birthday.
thank you. I think there's something about, like, I know I'm not old, but I
Yeah.
know that my time is more limited than not.
Mm,
And there's only so many places I want to put my energy.
mhm.
Um, and not like I'm not gonna give you anything unless I get something back. But if I'm continuing to put my energy into something and I'm not getting anything back, I'm gonna move on to something else.
Yep.
And I think part of that is just aging, and like we
Yeah.
realize when our time is shortening, like, I mean, we never know how much time we have left on the
Yeah.
earth, but like when our time starts shortening and we're getting older, like use what you have to be who you want to be. Like be your favorite person now,
Oh, that's good.
you
That's
know?
good. Yeah.
Yeah. That's the first time I've ever said that.
No, I love that. Be your favorite person. You should do something with that. Put it on a shirt or something. It's good.
Yeah.
It's a good reminder and a good affirmation.
Yeah. So let's dig into kind of, if you're open to it. Um, well, first, I kind of want to know how your programs work, or if there's any like tips you want to give to the listeners. And then I want to do like a hard left and ask you what your story is, or you can tell your story first.
Yeah.
Either way, all the things. What do you think?
All the things. I'll start with the tip, maybe, because I would love to see where we go with the story part, and I don't want to interrupt that.
Okay.
Um, so the tips, then, I guess, in terms of the program that I offer, it's more like I liken it to almost like a creative like group or network for entrepreneurs, or I'll say this, a group or network for creative entrepreneurs is probably a better way to say it. So for folks like me who have these backgrounds where we've done all these varied things, it's just not very linear. And it doesn't mean that you have to be making art, but like if you like make things, you make podcasts, you make content,
Mhm.
you make like whatever the thing is. And what we do together collectively in this container is like help people own their story. So like a lot of people have shame around the fact that they've done, you know, this one job and this other job and this other job, and now like what they're trying to do is not even related to any of those things. And like, how do I talk about it? And you know, do I have to start from scratch? And nobody's going to hire me. I don't have credibility, or nobody's going to want to buy from me because I don't have credibility of 30 years in this thing. And you know, I help folks like really just come to self acceptance with, you know,
Mhm.
who they are, what their background is, and to leverage that, to not see it as a gap or a deficit, but to see it as their unique advantage. Like only I can really talk about having been a performer and then in a corporate space and then right like so that I have to
Mhm.
use that to my advantage, not shy away from it. So we do a good bit of sort of owning our story and then making sure that the story, like our narrative, our brand narrative, matches the market. So most of the folks I work with are entrepreneurs in some way, like they work independently. And so we take a look at like, okay, now that I have this story, who am I telling it to? Who am I serving it with it? What are my offers? How am I monetizing like this uniquely packaged me?
Mhm.
Basically, like how am I making money being who I am? And yeah, we do that together through, you know, all kinds of, I'm a storyteller, so I love having workshops and I do premium content and resources, and we do like office hours. So it's really like a group sort of experience of monetizing our unique abilities and things. So
I love
yeah, I
that.
don't know if that was tips. You mentioned tips, but if you want to double click
Well,
on anything, just let me know.
okay. Well, I the tip I took out of it is, what we were talking about earlier is
Yep,
bring your essence to your work
absolutely.
because
Absolutely.
that's what's going to make you stand out.
Yep. And that's what's going to
Yeah.
make you fulfilled, if I'm being honest. I
Mhm.
think, you know, there's so many stats we can talk about, like the whole you're going to spend 90,000 hours of your life working. That's from happiness at work. And so for me, I take that and I say, well, dang, when I get to the end of my life, like, well, what do I want to have said about this 90,000 hours? Do I want to have spent it miserable and hating it and like, I got to go here again? Or do I want to say
Mhm.
like, damn, look what I did? You know, like, what's
Yeah.
the story I want to tell? The other two things that I always like to mention are there's this one article in Huffington Post that was like, when you hate your job, like this is what it's doing to you. Like it's causing stress, anxiety, health problems, like you're not sleeping at night, gut issues, like any kinds of health challenges, right? And then there's this other article in Business Insider that's like, people who love their work, they get rich faster. They like accumulate more wealth over their lifetimes when they love their work. And so that says to me, then, translation, this is a takeaway, loving your work is important for your physical, for your generational health and your wealth. Like
Mhm.
it's important, it matters. And that's just
Yeah.
physical and financial. Think about relational. Like if you're hating your work and you're always sick, like what is that doing to your relationships, your kids, your partner, your right?
Yeah.
And so it's all of it. It's like what we do for a living matters. There's not a lot of conversation around it. I think there's sort of this like norm sometimes around like, oh, I just go to this 9 to 5 and then, I live outside, or sort of live it up outside of that. And I think that's okay. There's nothing
Mhm.
that says that what you do for a living has to be like your purpose. But what it shouldn't be is a place that you hate and is like hurting you, is harming you physically,
Yeah.
mentally, like that kind of thing. So
Yeah. I heard someone say once, I can't remember who it was. So, listeners, if you know who said this, tell me. But she said, when you love what you do, you never have to work another day in your life.
yep, that's real.
Yeah.
Hmm. Hmm.
So, tell me, like, what's your story? Um,
What part of it?
how, well, I do like to ask, what's a story you have where you went through something or you did something or you learned something that completely changed either the way you think, the way you live, or who you are?
Oh gosh.
And if you have
Uh,
multiple stories, go for it.
yeah, something that completely changed who I am. I think a very surface level story that I could tell, maybe this will lead us places.
Yeah.
Uh, maybe 5 years ago, going through a lot of life transition. So it was like newly engaged or married. I think I was married at this point. Um, New home, sort of like I wasn't in a new city, but a new, maybe like new position at work. I was just like, it was a lot of change in a small amount of time. And so I had always wanted to find a therapist to sort of just have somebody to talk to and process life with.
Mhm.
And I found someone, and I don't think I anticipated how much that would change my life. Because I did not understand just how much my childhood experiences would show up in my adult experiences. Even with me not, I don't feel like I had a traumatic childhood. I had an amazing childhood with like a lot of privileges, quite honestly, good educational experiences, healthy family dynamics ish. Like every family's got some dysfunction, but like, right?
Yeah.
I didn't have any like abuse stories. And
Mhm.
so to sort of learn that, I picked up my people pleasing and my perfectionism and all of that from like sort of childhood experiences was shocking to me. And sort of me learning to like the amount of self-awareness that I didn't have, so I thought I knew myself and what I was feeling, and to then be in therapy and processing like, oh, I, I didn't know I felt that way about this, or why am I crying about this? I thought I had grieved this thing. Like, so it sort of gave me this self-awareness that I really don't think I would have had otherwise. And and that is how I got to the place of like self-acceptance. It was fine. It was kind of
Mhm.
like, okay, well, now I'm finally seeing myself and like how I respond to things. And I'm like being surprised at like, who is this person? I thought I knew her and I actually don't. And then it's like, as we keep having more stories and more lived experiences, like, okay, this is who I am. This is how I feel. And actually, I'm going to choose to rock with her. I'm going to choose to love her. And, they do all these kind of things with, or they can, I guess it depends on your therapist, but like, making peace with my inner child and loving her and
Mhm.
writing letters to her and, sort of releasing mistakes that I've made and sort of releasing shames that I've had. And so it's not a story in that like this happened this day at this time and then this, but it's like
Mhm.
throughout the course of just engaging with a therapist and like an extended period of time without being in crisis mode either. Just kind of like, I'm going to start talking to somebody about who I am and what I'm going through has like changed my life tremendously. Like, I cannot stress
Mhm.
enough. Like, I am a completely different person. I have way more self awareness, I have way more self trust, way more self confidence and acceptance. And that is how I know. because when I started to go to therapy, all of and I started to change and accept me, my relationships around me started to change. So
Mhm.
now there's like more friction because now I have boundaries where I didn't have them before. And people are having to adjust to this person who is now not people pleasing and right, like who's
Yeah.
now vulnerable and courageous in a new way. And so some of my relationships actually have strengthened and deepened because like I have enough self-trust to be vulnerable. Like it impacts everything. Now my work is kind of taking off in a different way because I'm trusting myself to take risks that maybe I didn't take before. Like so it impacts everything. And that has definitely been the game-changing thing for me.
Yeah. I love that too, especially because so many people think that you have to be broken in order to go see a therapist, and it's just not true. Like, it's kind of like we get a cough and we go to the doctor.
Yeah.
Like, I'm kind of sad right now. Let me go see a therapist. And like, we don't even have to be sad to go talk to
Yeah.
somebody, but sometimes like if we're trying to figure something out and we're stuck, that would be a good
Yeah.
time to go. Like,
Yeah.
you don't have to be broken into pieces and think that somebody else is going to put you back together.
Exactly. And I'll say it helps for the moments where I was in crisis. So throughout these couple of years, I've had some pretty big crisis moments, in my opinion. And it was
Mm,
helpful to already have a relationship with someone and not be trying to find someone in such a broken moment. And so just to kind of have, like, I have this relationship, she knows how I am and sort of how I already think about things because of my past and things like that. So when I did have very tough life moments, we were starting from the moment and not from like when you start a relationship with a therapist, they have to ask you all the background questions, right? And
mm,
so that can be hard if what you're actually feeling right now is just like devastation over some immediate loss, right?
yeah. I am curious, because you said you didn't have a traumatic childhood, but you learned that your people pleasing and your perfectionism came from
Yeah.
your childhood.
Yeah.
I'm just curious, were you in a family of people pleasers and perfectionists? So like everybody
Uh,
was kind of, there was never conflict because everybody was trying to make everybody else happy.
It was more like, no, not that. It was more like a family where anxiety was really high because of different reasons. And it was, I would say for me specifically, it was totally self-imposed. But, like I had everything I needed, maybe not everything I wanted. And I could tell like if the family was going through a tough time, I basically just didn't want to be a burden
Mm,
on the family, on my parents. Like didn't want to need another thing if money was tight. I didn't want to, like cause any more strife if they're already dealing with something else. So it was sort of like, well, let me just be self-sufficient, let me not be a burden, let me just do everything that I can to sort of subconsciously, this wasn't an intentional
right,
thing,
right.
but like let me not rock the boat so that maybe when I'm fine over here, it's like less work for them and like less things for them to worry about. And actually, when I'm fine, they seem to kind of be fine too. So it was like that kind of thing. Like, let me not be a burden. It came from that.
Mm, yeah. I like that you emphasized subconsciously because 99.999% of the time, we don't even know we're doing it. And and a
Exactly.
lot of times we don't even know where it comes from. Like in my case, I I'm one of those people where I won't like if I'm going through something tough, I won't let myself feel it because
Yep.
somebody else has it worse.
Uh-huh.
Like I don't even know where I got that from. My mom didn't teach me that. She was a single mom raising me and my brother. And so that's one thing I'm still exploring. Like, where did that come from?
Isn't it wild too to be
Yeah.
like, oh, that's what's happening now? Like you could think, I used to, I guess, kind of think like, oh, mental resilience, like
Mhm.
you're sort of fine, you get through things okay. But to know, to like learn, discover all the subconscious things that are actually puppet stringing our lives blows my mind to this day still.
Mhm.
Like, to your point, how did that even get in there? Like, it's weird.
Yeah.
It's really weird.
Yeah. And
It's magic.
we want to tend to think that it's like, oh, well, my mom taught me this, or I learned that from my father. No.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Well, I think some of it is learned behavior now that I think
yeah.
about it. Like I could see how I sort of picked up some of the like codependency.
Hmm.
Like codependent behavior is sort of like a let me do all of these things for someone else. Let make everybody's stuff my responsibility. I definitely that was learned behavior, but sort of out of love, like sort of learn this like when you love people, make it self-sacrificial and do everything that you can kind of thing. So noble intents, I think, but
Yeah.
then like sort of like an unhealthy impact to that. So lots of unlearnings of sort of things maybe I just kind of saw, and then also subconsciously things I just kind of maybe were trying to solve without even knowing through my child brain, you know?
Yeah. For the listeners, this is an example of unveiling your beast.
Mm,
Taking off those layers that some of them you know where they came from, some of them you don't know where they came from, but just unlearning, unbecoming. Like I almost feel like personal development is more unbecoming than becoming something else, you
that's
know?
good, Katie. That's really good.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, because I always hear about becoming. Think about Michelle Obama's book. It's called Becoming, right? Like everybody's
Mhm.
like sort of in aspirationally trying to become the next and best highest version of themselves. But I really like the idea of sort of like unbecoming, unmasking. That's a word that's come up a lot for me this past year. It's
Like
just like
that.
what masks were I putting on to like really sort of hide my true self, what I was really feeling, what I really needed. And sort of like this unmasking is the same idea.
Mhm.
It's really, yeah, we should make that a thing. That's sexy. Unbecoming.
Unbecoming, yeah.
Yeah.
Unlearning,
Yeah.
un. We'll just have a program called Un.
I like it.
Well, as a side note, is there anything that I didn't ask you that you wanted me to ask you?
No, I thought I always show up to these conversations and I just let them go where they want to
Yeah.
go. Because I believe like whatever we've said, it's for someone. It's a purpose for it. But I'd
Hmm.
love to hear what you've unbecome.
What I've unbecome?
Yeah.
Um, Trying to make sure everyone else is happy.
Mm.
Um, Ooh, that's such a good question. Um, Unlearning, I think, well, the big one for me is unlearning diet culture and
Mm.
going more, like paying more attention to actual nutrition science versus what the influencer on the internet tells me I
Hmm.
should and shouldn't be eating. Um, Knowing that, like being in my own health adventure from a place of love rather than I hate my
Yeah.
body, therefore I'm going to change it. That's a big
Uh,
one.
that's
Um,
good.
I have unbecome my hate relationship with my body. And now it's a love neutral. Like, and that piece, the love piece comes from like, and listeners, you can do this too. If you hate your body, just make a list of all the things it can do for you, all the things you've done with it. Like I always talk about, I can deadlift 225 pounds, and I've run marathons, and
Wow.
I one of them, I ran a 10K when I was 4 months pregnant, and like that's
What?
cool. Like my body did that.
Yeah,
And
that's
so that,
bananas.
yeah. So that helped me with the love part, and now the neutral part is like looking at it and just being like, cool. Because now
Thank you.
I don't work out to burn off food. I work out so that when I'm old and hairy, I can to run after my grandkids down the street, you know?
Yeah.
Um, I know that was all messy, but I was just
No,
kind
that
of
was
like
not messy at
fitting
all. It
out.
was
Yeah.
beautiful. That was
How about
good.
you?
Yeah, I really resonate with what you're saying about your body. I think I kind of have a different relationship maybe with my body in that being a dancer and having danced my whole life, we're sort of taught this self-critique, right? Where like the
Hmm.
whole premise of being a dancer is you're in a space with all of these mirrors floor to ceiling and you're looking at yourself and you're getting critiques around what your body is doing, right?
Yeah.
So like pull up here, make your leg do this, straighten it, point more, right? Like so I think for me, some of the self-awareness is that I have sort of unlearned how to be so of being so critical of myself. Like I am the hardest on myself than like anything that's a criticism, a critique, a constructive criticism, even someone can give me, chances are I've probably already said it to myself, like repeatedly, right?
Yeah.
And so I have really sort of kind of learned to be okay with flaws and mistakes. You know, like I'll give you an example. I was even just looking at maybe something I either emailed recently or posted, and I would sit and like reread an email like a gazillion times. And like, did I have any typos? Did I have any mistakes? Like, fix it, fix it, fix it before I sent it. And now I'm just kind of like, is this good enough? Okay, I'm gonna send. And then if I read it back to myself, I'm like, oh, there was a mistake there. You know what? You're human. You know, like, so
Oh
I'm
my
like,
goodness.
I know. So I've sort of like learned to take the pressure off of some of that kind of criticism that just kind of came up with like what I spent so much of my time doing growing up.
Yeah. I love that.
Yeah.
I think another piece for me is doing the inner child work to where, like, I have pictures of little Katie all over my house.
Yeah.
And actually, I think I have one right here. Yeah. I don't know if you can see it, but
Oh, she looks like a rebel. Like,
yeah. Yeah, and
yeah.
she's wearing black, you know. Um, but like when I start to talk to myself in way like when I'm starting to be mean to myself, I
Mm.
go, would I say that to her?
Ooh, that's good.
You know, because her and me were the same person. So
Yeah.
why would I not say it to her that I'm saying it to me now? And so that's been another biggie for me is just the inner child work and
Ooh.
being the person that she needed growing up.
I love that so much. I have a number of pictures of me when I was younger. So I have a couple of like child pictures and a couple of college pictures up. And I've started to put them up as sort of badges of honor, as like I'm gonna be the me that she would be proud of. I'm gonna be the me that loves her. I'm gonna be the me that supports her. And I really like that framing though. Like what I say when I'm saying to myself to her. Like what
Mhm.
I've even started to use like some really, really additional tough like life transitions recently. And I've even when I've been journaling, like, okay, if I was sort of coaching or just giving advice to my younger self, like actually what would I want her to do? And like maybe I need to take that advice for myself kind of thing. So that's really good. It's all that whole like parenting, reparenting your inner child is really, it sounds woo, y'all, but it's that stuff is it matters.
Oh,
That's a
it's
thing.
100% woo.
Yeah.
One of my favorite coaching exercises is called superconductivity, where you the client has the issue. This is like a really fast version of this, but
Yeah.
the client has the issue, and then you kind of take them back to when it first showed up in their life, and then you have them have their now self talk to their younger self
Ooh, that's
and get
good.
everything out that needs to get out. The younger self asks the older, like the now self, all the questions that they need to ask. And then you go to the older, wiser self, and the now self asks the older, wiser self all the questions, and they have the conversation, and then you bring them back, and it's just like this. And then I like, I get kind of dramatic sometimes with my sessions, and I'm like, okay, now the three of you are on the beach on a bench, and you're all just hanging out together, and they're all you.
Yeah,
So
that's
it's very
good.
woo.
You know what? It reminds me of this is like kind of off topic, but it's still on topic. For all of those who like need visual models of things, it reminds me so much of like lately, I don't know if it's just because I'm drawn to these things, but I've been seeing so many things that I've learned in therapy show up in TV shows. I've even
Mm,
seen TV shows like portray people like people going through therapy in shows now, which is like that is beautiful to me. I don't know if you watch Suits.
mm-mm,
Did you watch Suits at all? Suits on
mm-mm.
Netflix. I'm a late bloomer with that, but I literally just over the past year watched like the entire series. And there's this one episode in there where exactly what you just described, they showed a scene of it actually happening. So one of the lawyers was like faced with a childhood bully, and it was obviously triggered sort of like this inner child response. And but it showed a scene of the lawyer now like talking to the younger self, sort of in this closet where they used to be bullied and abused, but like them sort of coming to like some sort of amends moment where it's like, no, you're safe, you're protected, I got you, I'm gonna fight for you. I couldn't do it before, but now I'm gonna do it.
Yeah.
And so like that, and it really did kind of like help him unlock whatever he was going through at the moment. So that's dope. It just
Yeah.
literally brought me back to that. Like, oh, I've seen that before. Yes.
That's so cool. I love that.
It's a thing. Yeah.
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 I love this stuff. Well, I have one more question for you.
Okay.
And I ask everyone at the end of every episode. And that is, if you had one piece of advice that you could give to the world, what would it be?
Ooh, one piece of advice. I guess this is the thing that I always just kind of say to everybody, and I think it's the thing I want people to feel after they've experienced me. I would say you can, period. Like there's a version of your life that is, unveiled, unlocked, unleashed, and you can have that. Like, is it a little scary? Sure. Will it come with some challenges? Sure, right? And I think that it's just possible. Like there is no world where what you want is not possible. There are very real life circumstances that might make it more challenging, whether that be financial, your caregiving, physical health, like whatever the thing is. Everybody's got their own hero's journey, but you can. And I would just like really, really, really implore people to not not stay stuck in a life that is less than they want, they desire, or they deserve. And so like, how can you set yourself free from whatever limited thoughts you have, from whatever circumstances you've bought into, like that it just has to be this way, and allow yourself to just take one step at a time towards a life that you're just super proud of and like fully expresses who you are. I would say, like, you can just like, you can do it.
Beautiful beasts, Shaté, signing off. Until next time.